All right, it's Monday, April 28th, 10 o'clock, regular session of the Board of Supervisors. First item on the agenda is approval of the agenda and the minutes from the April 21st regular session.
Second.
So I have a motion and second to approve the agenda minutes as presented. Any further comment? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Public comment, any? Okay, we'll move on to new business, Mr. Auditor.
Claims are prepared. I move to accept claims as presented. I'll second.
Motion and second to approve the claims as presented. Any further discussion? All in favor? Aye. Motion passes. Payroll, we have a new hire for a correctional officer.
Move to approve resolution number 34.
Second. We have a motion and second to approve resolution 34 on the new hire. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. Item number 3, Mr. Auditor.
Actually, we'll have you jump up back to item 2, payroll for.
Yeah, we have the warrant registered for period ending 4/19/2025.
Okay.
I move to approve. I'll second.
Motion and second to approve the payroll register as presented. Any further comment there? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. On to drainage.
I have no new drainage to report.
Okay, then we'll go on to item number 4, Mr. Auditor.
I'll defer to Heather regarding the cost allocation plan.
We have a contract with cost advisory services, and this is our annual cost allocation plan that they prepared for us. It's used to pull in recoveries from indirect costs that DHS uses. So, and DHS is the one that pays for the study to be done annually.
I move to approve. Second.
Motion and the second to approve the certificate on cost allocation plan as presented. Any further comment? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Item number 5,
Transfer, this is a budgeted transfer to the, from a rural services fund to secondary roads fund. It's the second and last transfer for this fiscal year.
this would be a resolution.
I move to resolution 2025-35.
Motion and the second to approve resolution 2025 number 35. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Passes. Mr. Auditor, items number 6 and 7.
USDA reports, we are required to file annual both expenditure reports and budgets. This is the budget for the Swelldale Sanitary District and also the Missouri. Since we have USDA grants and loans, we're required to do this for the length of the loan. Both of them are 40-year loans. Swelldale will be doing this until 2036, and Missouri report will be until 2044.
To approve 6 and 7 as presented.
Second. Motion and a second to approve items 6 and 7 regarding the sanitary sewer budgets as presented. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Moving on to item number 8 is Nikki here. Nikki?
Bank of America, had, approached me to add them as one of our depository. Giving them a chance to bid on any public funds or open bids for CP that we have. They're building Clear Lake where MDT is.
What do you think?
Bank Iowa.
Okay, got it. So we're just amending one that was previously done.
We're amending that resolution. Yeah,
Okay.
just adding them as a depository.
Okay, I move to amend resolution 2025, number 5A. Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve or amend resolution 2025-05A as presented. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. We're gonna have to jump.
Right,
There's not-
yeah, right.
Yeah, I don't think we have enough time for 9. So we'll move on to item number 10 and open the public hearing on the proposed ordinance 38B, repealing ordinance 38A, the influenza preparedness and response ordinance. Carl, would you like to address it?
Sure, the Board of Health approved repealing this ordinance. It is primarily a vaccine shortage ordinance for influenza only. There is state code that already outlines this, and we have used it once in the past 20 years.
Any other comment from the public?
Hearing none, I move to close this portion of the public hearing.
Second. Motion and a second to approve this, closing the public hearing. Any further comment? In favor?
Aye.
Item number 10A.
Do either A or B need to be a roll call?
We'll do, roll call for both.
Okay. I move to approve item A.
Second.
Motion and a second to adopt ordinance 38B is presented. All in favor, roll call, Bob?
Yes.
Gina?
Yes.
Watts? Yes. And then we'll move on to item number B, consider waiving second and third considerations.
I move to, waive second and third.
I'll second that.
Motion and a second, roll call, Bob? Carl?
Yes.
Gina?
Yes.
Watts? Yes. Okay, now we're gonna jump back up to number 9. Tom, would you like to address this?
Yes, these are the renewal documents for our benefit plan for fiscal year ending 2026. There will also be some electronic bunch of landmarks that is going to be signed electronically. This is authorized, board authorized me to execute all documents related to the renewal. Our broker, Tim Johnson, also on the phone if you have any specific questions for him.
I don't. I'd move items A through I as presented.
Second.
Motion and second to approve, item number 9A through I is presented. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. We're gonna move on to dock permits, Michelle.
Yeah, we have two today, 26P at Bayberry and 60P at Hackberry. All of the required insurance and filing fees have been received.
I move to approve both dock permits as presented.
I'll second.
Motion and second to approve the 2 dock permits as presented. Any further discussion there? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. Brandon. County
Yes.
Engineer.
Good morning.
Good morning.
So the guys are finishing up on all of the dust controls. We laid the gravel on them last week. They're hopefully gonna finish getting manicured by the graders this week, so that the applications are due by May 5th. 5th or 8th, I can't remember. It kind of floats around a little bit each year. So then we can do our first applications. This year, just like any year, any applications that come in after the deadline, we're gonna tell the people you can get your first application, but there's no guarantees that it's not gonna get hit by a grader if you don't make it by the time that the deadline cutoff is, so that we have the proper time to repair and prepare the road. So just give you guys a heads up, we're being a little more strict on our deadlines as to the people that, because, I mean, even the ones that we put down with the permit, we, if we need to, can go through them. But by them getting the permit, it allows us the time to go out there and prepare the road properly, so that has the best chance to make it through until the second application time without needing any kind of maintenance. So that's why anybody that gets an application done after the deadline, we can't guarantee we can get there to prepare the road as well. So we can't guarantee that we're gonna be able to stay out of it during the entire period, just to give you kind of an understanding as to why we don't guarantee protection on those ones. Other than that, we have one motor grader that's just about back together. I had to redo a bunch of wear strips in the mechanism that controls the moldboard, the big blade on it. So that's all repaired and back in service. There's one loader that has 3 different pinhole hydraulic leaks in the cylinders that we're gonna address, but other than that, our equipment's all up. Our one chassis has gone up to Christ steel. We're gonna hold on to the other one until a little bit closer to the build date, so it doesn't sit outside up there. So those are progressing along on their schedule to be delivered just after July 1st. So that stuff's going good. Just with the weather that we may or may not get today, I haven't made a whole bunch of big plans this week for projects, just in case we end up cleaning up trees, a bunch of other messes from any weather we get today. But other than that, it'll just be our typical getting our work orders, they'll keep setting up one calls for various, tiling issues and other crossroad tubes that we're replacing. Do you guys have any other specific questions about operations type stuff?
What was the, your tentative, demolition date on the Illinois building?
Well, I got one quote to see what ballpark we're in for a demolition is about $30,000. The test for the hazardous materials will cost us about $1,100, and depending on what they find, we'll figure out how much that costs. I'm hoping to get it done this fall is really what I'm shooting for. And get it down before the winter, but possibly some of the contractors I spoke to might want to do it during the winter as kind of winter work, busy work for them. So we'll see. It'll be this calendar year is what I'm planning on.
All right, thanks, Brandon. Item number 13, the 5-year plan.
Okay, so I didn't give you this before, and I'll give you a big, more, easy to read map later. The map I gave you is the 5-year plan. The green boxes show the projects that I plan to get done in the next fiscal year, so after July 1st and before the next June 30th. So there's 2 larger paving projects and then a few other road, bridge, culvert projects that we're planning to get done in there. We added the place in Plymouth where the guardrail's kind of slipping off and the road has subsided. That's either going to be done through farm to market funds or ideally safety funds. We're going to continue applying for that, but that's not this coming fiscal year, but the year after that would be the latest that we'd wait to get that done. It's just time for that road to get fixed. On Friday, I went down to Ames for our research board meeting, and part of it was some presentations through people that do this kind of stuff. So I made some contacts with people to help design road embankments to help stabilize them in this situation. So I made some pretty good contacts with that, and making sure the plane we use will actually fix it, so we never have to deal with this again in that location. So that's moving along nicely. Other than that, the orange ones and the orange ones are in the year 4. And the one that's up in the northwest corner is a bridge MV20 that was on our qualified bridge list, and then through criteria changes got taken off. I have that bridge designed by a consultant and it's ready to go. So I'm leaving it in the 5-year plan because in the near future, it'll be back on the qualified bridge list, and we'll move it up at that time to get it done. And then the other long paving project, I call it Old 18. It's a road adjacent to B30 heading to North Springs. I don't know if you've ever driven down it, has a lot of bumps in it. So I've been actually talking to the asphalt and the concrete paving association on solutions to that road to hopefully keep those joints from doing that again through the pavement, because I would like that road to not do that anymore. Because that's really what ruined that. That road is not old enough to replace, but due to those joints falling like that, it's made the road kind of undrivable. I guess it's hard to maintain, it's hard to plow, it's not nice to drive on. So we're trying to come up with some solutions to help mitigate that problem in the future also.
Pretty narrow.
Yeah, that part I'm not sure I can fix. There's too many farmsteads and other buildings near the roadway. I don't think we're gonna be able to buy enough right away to widen it out to a proper cross section. So that is something we're looking at though. I mean, it would be one of the things that when the project's a lot closer, we'll look at that and we'll see where the dollars and cents are at that time and if it makes sense for us to invest the money in doing that. Because I agree that is a narrow paved road. So I guess I don't know if you guys had time to look through the paper version of the 5-year program, but that's, I guess another I was gonna point out is there's a blue circle just north of Clear Lake. That's our shared bridge with Clear Lake. The time frame we agreed on with them is about 2 years out, so we have time to get some of our right-of-way concerns done out there and hopefully get a back way into the east side of that bridge, so we don't have to have as expensive of a stream crossing. That'll be a very good project to get done, especially because that's gonna be done through money that's not ours. That got city bridge fund money in it, so it'll be money of our pocket to initially, but it'll all be reimbursed to us. So that'll be a nice project to get done. So, you guys, do you have any questions for me?
Are there any other funding sources for that, road south of Plymouth that's sliding off into the?
Trying to get the safety funds is the only program it currently qualifies for. It's not, unless I lump it in with several other counties' projects, there's none of those big federal grants we can get for it. It's just not enough money. But, it seems, talking to the people that administer the program for the safety funds, like the TSIP, the Traffic Safety Improvement Funds, it seems like a very likely project that they would think about using that money for. So as long as nobody else has better projects, I do think we have a chance in the next couple of years to get funding for that.
Okay,
I move to approve and authorize the chair to sign.
Second.
motion and second to approve the 5-year construction plan and have the chair sign. Any further comment? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Item number 14, Brandon.
So the next one's super easy. This is just a carbon copy of the budget submitted to you guys for the county budget. I just had to remake it in the DOT so that I can submit it to them. So I would ask you guys to approve it. And any changes if you guys decide to change the county budget between now and when you guys approve that officially, I can re-amend this at some point in the future. It doesn't lock us into anything. It's still able to be changed. They just need a starting point first for the year.
I move to approve and allow the authorized chair to sign.
I'll second.
Motion and second to approve the secondary roads budget and have the chair sign. Any further comment there? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. Brandon, you want to start on the tower?
Yes. So, I've been trying to reach out to other services that do, the services we need for the tower. And I've not had a lot of luck on getting any kind of responses. So I don't have any great updates as to cost comparisons. It's not. People who don't already do work in the area have a hard time coming for 200-foot tower, because it's money, but it's not enough money to encourage them to come in. One thing I did do is I used an AI thing to kind of give a quick summary about requirements for towers, that the FAA and lighting requirements, monitoring requirements, and other specific considerations that, AI is kind of an independent source also, besides just looking it up on the FAA account, and it correlates to everything that they were telling us through their presentation. I just don't have any numbers wise to compare them to. It would be my recommendation that we have a board staff between us and anybody who might take over the bills side of this, the ongoing bills that this entails. And we sit down and get at least a pretty good idea as to what direction we're going, and come back to a meeting, have officially voted on as to how we're gonna move forward with this.
Sounds like a plan to me.
The suggestion, like maybe 911.
Yeah, that's someone like that is, because that's really what it is. It's the tornado sirens and the pagers for the fire departments are what's on there. So that's
For your trucks and all.
nothing on there is us at all. I mean, if there was anything on there, then I'd be all in and helping to get this done. But yeah, we are completely removed from that tower at this time.
Want to set a board staff for this?
Yeah, because you've talked to Eric.
Yep.
Like in the past, I guess, what's our time frame? The next month?
Yeah, the Lumiser people, they said they estimated a week or two left of materials at the price that they offered us before, and then they're gonna have to readjust for the tariff stuff.
Yeah.
So it just depends on if we want to try and get something decided before any kind of discount is there, or if we're just gonna do it at our own speed and we'll deal with what comes.
I don't know. Maybe
It's something that should go to the 911 commissioner, because that's the
governing body over it. So I guess
Yeah.
maybe
oils that use
you
it.
give a visit with Heather.
Yeah,
And
And
find
see what
coordinator.
her thought is to coordinate, see what the commission's thought is
Yeah.
behind the scenes. And that being on that, it sometimes is challenge getting everybody in the same room together.
Correct.
yeah.
So,
And it might be something where if I can get an email list, I can try and send out information to everybody, try and get them up
Yeah.
to speed as to what this is. So,
and Heather would have that.
yeah, so I'll get ahold of Heather.
Okay, and then just my guess is it's gonna be a little while, but.
Yeah, that's what I assumed. But I just wanted to make sure you were aware of that.
Yeah, thank you.
All right. Anything else there for Brandon?
Oh, I got one more thing. I will update the 5-year plan big map that you guys have in your office and get a new one printed out for you.
Thank you. We'll move on to item number 16, which would be the second here. Tim, did you need to stay on?
No, I just wasn't concerned any questions might come up. I was just hanging tight.
I just noticed you were still there, so
It is okay. Can I go ahead and hang up?
sure.
All right. Thank you, gentlemen.
See ya. Moving on to item number 16, the North Iowa corridor. We have Shelley and Chad here to share with us. So who wants to start?
Yeah, I can kick it off real quick and make the introduction, I suppose. I appreciate you guys taking some time for us today. We started the North Iowa Housing Development Corporation here a couple years ago to really help spearhead the housing efforts across the county. This partnership between Mason City, Clear Lake, and the county again, and really appreciate your guys supporting that. Tom's one of our board members. Kind of the way that structure works, I guess, real quick, Mason City, Clear Lake, and the county, each of their administrators essentially is a default board member for that. And then we have 2 at-large board members, which currently is Melissa Schoenberg from Habitat for Humanity and Myrtle Nelson from the COG. So a really good group, folks that are intricately involved in the housing efforts. We really kicked that off initially because we had an opportunity over at the Blackmore site here across from across from Mercy, where the developer was going to be tearing all that down, and 3 houses that come with the purchase, and they were just going to tear them down. And instead of doing that, we asked them if they would be able to donate those to the housing corporation. We partnered with Mason City. They had a couple of infill lots that they had inherited over the years, and we were able to move those houses to those sites. We've sold one of those houses so far, and have the other 2 are about ready for completion. And we'll sell those, and then we'll roll those funds into the next project. Mason City initially funded that through ARPA, $500,000 to the organization. So we've really seen it as as far as the funding side of it's gone, we've seen that as really a project specific funding stream. So as we've had projects, or as we have projects going forward, working with the necessary entities to fund those projects. And then the EDC side, we kind of act as the administrative agent of that. And that's when we hired Shelley here 6 months ago now already, which is kind of hard to believe. It's been long. But she's just jumped right in and done an awesome job helping see those initial projects through and creating a really large project list. I know she'll walk through some of that with you right now. But one of our goals today is just to make sure you guys are aware of everything that's going on with the Housing Corporation, introduce Shelley, and then make sure that we discuss opportunities across the county. Because one of our real goals with this organization, especially on the economic development side, a lot of times in the smaller communities, there's not a lot on the EDC side where we're not necessarily recruiting a large manufacturer or some of those things to some of the smaller communities. Housing is incredible economic development for a small town. And we're hopeful that this organization can help drive some of that, whether it's on the rehabilitation side, recruiting developers, whatever the specific case might be for each community. So with that, I'd just like to introduce Shelley Holmans, our VP of Housing and Community Development.
Hello. Thank you for inviting us. I appreciate it. Time for us to share. It's been nice. I've had 6 months to be able to build relationships and sort of see what's going on in the community. Much better idea of what we have going on, as well as what we could potentially do. So a little background about me. I have a master's in community regional planning from Iowa State University Extension Outreach. When I graduated from that program, I had a shared position where I worked for Iowa State University Extension Outreach in community and economic development, and then also was the Chamber of Commerce Director in Keokuk, Iowa. So I sort of had a dual hat, and the aspect is I got to go out and serve communities, providing services and developing programs, mostly focused on leadership, zoning, and then also housing, rural housing readiness assessment, things like that. And then at the local level, I got to wear the hat as well as being a local person that's advocating and working to plan and get the things done in your community. Very great opportunity. I did that for 8.5 years. And then took a little stint doing something else as a professor, teaching leadership stuff. And then I found my way here to Cerro Gordo County and working in this new created position. And one of the things I would say is that the pump was primed when I got here, and there was a lot of things going on, and I've been running since. So I can share with you guys a little bit about some of the things that we're doing in not only Cerro Gordo County, but also the region. We did host the first North Iowa Housing Conference last Thursday, April 25th. We had around 150 participants. It covered the 8-county region. From my understanding and the talks that I've had, everybody was pleasantly surprised by how well it went and what they learned and some of the relationships that they developed. We had developers, we had contractors, we had local community members, we had economic developers, local government entities, so on and so forth. It was a great opportunity to not only share what we're doing, but also build those relationships for other communities to realize, hey, we're all in this together. We don't need to have all the housing built in Cerro Gordo County. We would love to keep our developers and contractors busy here in North Iowa, and we see it as a partnership. So then a little bit about the 3 things that I like to say that we're focused on as the Housing Development Corporation. We want to do rehabilitation, specifically focus on single family right now, hopefully moving into maybe some upper story stuff as well, but right now really focus on single family. Second thing is we want to work for new development, and that's all of our communities. And then third thing is contractor capacity. I'll start with sort of our work on rehab right now. Chad talked about the Blackmore project. We will be finishing up the final 2 houses here this spring and putting them on the market. First house sold for $115,000 to a young person in the community who is looking for a house, first time home buyer. And then other 2 houses, they are going to be selling for about $125,000 to $200,000. We're hoping, so we're really focused on that workforce niche. People that maybe are first-time home buyers or ready to move from their first home into their second one. And then we're going to revolve those funds. 2 other projects that we're going to start this spring, or we have actually started, the East Park project. There's a failing retaining wall at 4th Street Northeast. And so the city has purchased those homes, tearing all that down, except we are rehabbing 1 house in place, moving another house in a garage onto another vacant lot. Creating those 2 houses, then we'll rehab those and sell those. And then we'll have about an acre of land after the city gets done with hopefully having a permanent fix for what was the failing retaining wall and putting that out for an RFP for townhome development. So we're working on all that. The city is obviously doing their part on that. And then we're really just flipping those houses and getting them back on the market. But helping facilitate that process, because sometimes it's nice to have somebody like me coming in from outside to say, hey, where are you guys at? What's going on? How can I help? Where do we help move that forward together as a team? And then we're also taking 2 houses that the city has that they are looking to flip. One was a 657A, which was an abandoned home that we're taking ownership of that this week, not today, because in case the weather, knowing that that's coming through. So, but we will be closing on those this week. We'll take those and then we'll invest in those, flip them and sell them again. So we're looking at maybe doing 4 to 5 houses a week. We do a year. God, sorry. Yeah, God, no, please.
Couples enough.
Sorry, couples enough. So those are sort of that initial funds, and those revolving loan fund is sort of what we're looking at is how do we help flip those projects. Long-term vision for that program, though, is really to help facilitate communities in getting those properties that maybe are abandoned or difficult properties, getting them in control and then flipping them into a private developer's hands and incentivizing a private developer to make that work. I don't want to be flipping homes forever and ever. As I said, I hope that we can hopefully create a program where that can be something that we can incentivize and it makes sense on that private developer side. One of the things that we're going to be doing research this spring, and I spoke to Nikki, the treasurer, about this, is that a lot of the larger communities have used tax sale certificate. There's it's Iowa Code 44619 A and B. But what it is it allows the city or the county to purchase these properties before anyone else. So they can get the tax sale certificates. They can themselves then go through the process of getting that property, or they can assign it to somebody else, a nonprofit developer, even a for-profit developer, and then they can flip that into housing. It is required that it has to be a housing project. But one of the things we're going to do this spring is sort of look at what does it look like, what for properties are actually coming up, what kind of certificates are coming up. Does it make sense for the county to adopt that ordinance and move forward with that kind of program, or does it not? Des Moines uses it. You have a lot of your larger cities that are using it, and they have a very targeted approach about, identifying these nuisance properties specifically, and try to flip them into housing. Please
And we asked Nikki, our county treasurer, to be present today for your
Yes.
speech also.
So you know, I would say is that there's a lot of manpower that has to go into it from sort of the city and the county side of it the first time or so, where once you're sort of trying to build it. But I think the idea is that let's see if it's worth it. Let's see if it works. So like, you know, if it's not worth it because we don't have any properties that are coming up for real opportunities, then, you know, it's not a process that works for us. But this year, you know, let's see what happens. I'm sorry about that. My husband's emergency room, but it's okay. He's fine. But the idea is for us to sort of see what makes sense. And so this year, what we'll do is we can identify those properties, and then if they do come up, we as a nonprofit, as the Housing Development Corporation, if we do so choose, can go to the auction and purchase those properties or the certificates, I should say. We can purchase those certificates and go through the process. Perhaps we identify that this is a great opportunity and we move forward. Perhaps we identify it as not. So we'll see. So, and I appreciate the conversation with Nikki about it. I think that it seems a little intimidating at first, but this year we're just like, hey, let's see what it is.
And our goal on that rehab side, just overarching, like she said, we don't want to compete with the private side, but a lot of these projects, like on these first three, you know, we're losing, they're not money makers, you know, we're losing money on them, but they're salvaging good housing. And like she said, we're able to sell those at an affordable price to keep them on the market. And we're playing that long game where that house now we did it right. We've got them rehabbed in really good condition, quality homes that'll be on the tax rolls for the next 50 years, you know? So, and we also worked with the city in that case and going forward on doing a 20-year deed restriction. So they have to be owner occupied. We don't want to flip these back into rental or anything like that. And also doing a 5-year tax abatement, again, just to keep that upfront cost low for the new homeowner. And just get them out there and get them activated. We've got a whole list of, gosh, what do we got? 20 some properties at least in Mason City, specifically right now, of empty lots or lots that the city has inherited over the years because somebody let it go and, you know, everything else. So we've got a good pipeline of things that we can be doing, and we want to create that across the county and make sure that, like Shelley said, whether it's us doing it or we can identify a way to make it easy for private developers to do it, to really maximize and enhance that value. Because if you look at our median house age across the county, I looked at it recently, it's probably still before the 40s, you know, it's a lot of old housing, a lot of things that need help. And we're hopeful this project can do that. You guys appreciate again your support of the community project funding request through Congresswoman Hinson's office. That would play a huge role in this if that could get approved here in the next couple of months or a year. Because we are requesting $3 million, and that seems like a lot of money, but man, as we learned with this, it doesn't go that far right now in construction or rehabilitation. So, but we are excited about the prospect of that and what it could mean for this effort.
Yep. And I would say, you know, to any of the smaller communities or even out in the county, if you have properties that you've identified as nuisance properties that you would like to figure out, how can we get this flipped? What does that look like? And if you want to put some dollars towards it, like Mason City has, those are conversations we're more than happy to help. You know, we want to make sure that we're providing these services everywhere. So, the second thing is that we're doing is new development. And so one of the things I'm working on, and specifically with Mason City and Clear Lake right now, is that, well, we want to identify properties. Mason City is focused on infill and brownfield properties. So properties that are maybe a little bit more difficult to develop. They do have some EPA funds though to go through some brownfield assessment for phase 1 environmental and phase 2 environmental. So we're reaching out to those property owners and prioritizing, you know, the ones that we feel are the best opportunities, but also might have the most things that have to go through to get it to development grade. And then Clear Lake, they have the still got properties, but they have some other properties that we've identified. And one of the things that they've decided to do is actually go for the Thriving Communities designation, which I gave the supervisors a little bit of information on that. We met with Jim Thompson with IFA and IDDA last week. And he said that sort of gave us a little insight on what we would need to do to have a good application and what that would look like. Mason City got that designation last year and what it really does is it gives you extra points for your tax force, your tax credit programs for housing, also Catalyst Grant, which is their upper story housing mostly. And so we're looking to submit that application this spring. super excited. We think we'll have a competitive application. Then that would give Clear Lake those extra points for next year. And so that would be what the idea is that if you get the designation, it's really saying that your community is ready for development. That we're saying that you're development ready, you got good zoning, you guys got your act together. We want developers to come and seek you out, and then you can do that and then they can say, the state can say, nope, we vetted them. We know they're ready. So that's sort of what it does. And then the idea is to get that development pipeline get going, and then just looking at, building that over years and years and years. It takes about 3 years for a development from the initial dating, I like to say, with a developer, to hooking them up to the properties, to going through all these different applications, engineering, all that, for you to actually have apartment standing. So this is a long game, and we want to make sure that we get that pipeline built. At the same time, I would say is for smaller communities, one of the things that we can do is to help get them so that they feel like they have a group together and are doing housing is the Rural Housing Readiness Assessment. It's a program through Iowa State University Extension Outreach. The application period is this summer in June. If any of the communities are interested, what you do is you get a group of people together. You submit that application. It costs $5,000. And then as an implementation side of it, they give you $20,000. So you put together the group, you put together a plan as to how do we want to do housing in our community? What are our priorities? What does that look like? And then the state gives you $20,000 to implement that. So really it only costs nothing and you get an extra $15,000 on top of it. But it's about getting the group together and help moving that forward. We could be there to help guide that process and participate as to how does that community want to do that? And how can they use our resources?
Is that only a city basis or can it be county?
It is a city basis. So, but there's always a conversation to have if the county's interested in doing it too. So I could talk to Jim about that, or I could actually talk to Iowa State University Extension about that, but IEDA funds that program. So those are some of the new, how we can get the new development. One of the big things too is how do we build relationships with developers? So we have existing developers and builders in our community. We want to build those relationships and then help facilitate connecting those developers and those contractors and builders to our communities that have the property and want to do housing. So help facilitate that as well. And then our last thing is increasing contractor or building contractor capacity. We see that there's a lot of different ways of doing that. One of the low hanging fruits is that we did bring lead training for if you're doing any work on any house that's 78 years or older, you are supposed to have lead safe renovator training. It's an 8-hour training. As a contractor, you have to have somebody on site or that's near that site that provides that training, and then you're supposed to follow those practices. And so we had that, as well as we had a lead worker training, lead abatement worker and lead abatement contractor training as well. We want to look at how do we bring that into our community and offer that more often so that we have that lead safe renovator training that contractors need. They're doing a lot more enforcement of that now. And so we want to make sure that we have that because it can be quite a fine. As the inspector did present at the housing conference and stated, if you're not doing these things, we do fine you. So we're doing that, wanting to partner with NIAC. How can we help? They work really well with Habitat for Humanity. How can we help them increase their capacity there? And then also working with contractors, specifically contractors that are looking to be not only a contractor now, but turning into a business where they're getting some employees and they're looking to grow that and then doing sort of this larger size stuff. We have a lot of contractors, maybe they have 1 or 2 people that work for them and they go out and they do this work. But we really need to figure out how do we get these contractors into a point in time where they can be a business and they're growing and they're doing these bigger projects where they're, looking to go do spec housing, looking to do sort of this rehab flip projects, all those kind of things. So what questions do you have for me?
There's some potential there for your department to work with her also, I believe, isn't it?
Yeah.
Public health
Right.
and public health.
We've already,
Yeah, we already did.
Yes, and that's what I was gonna say. Public health has been a great resource and there's a ton of money that public health has, that the NIACOG has, and they struggle to get contractors.
Yes.
And so having that, I think even just, I had a relation, we had a contractor there that he goes, I used to do abatement out in New Jersey. He goes, I do it here. So, plugging him in, he already registered for a program to do the lead abatement training and contractor training. So But those are the kind of things that, yes, building those partnerships are absolutely critical.
Question. Very thorough. Thank you.
Thank you.
Second up.
Well, please, what I would ask is if you know that there's communities that want to do housing in Cerro Gordo County, please help connect them to us. We're more than happy to provide services to helping them figure out, how do we do this? Because it can be intimidating. It's sometimes just the start. And it's like, don't worry, you know what? We'll do it together. We can do this. It's something that, as I said, Mason City and Clear Lake are not only communities that need to do this. I think every community needs to talk about housing. I was driving around many of them. Many of them have had a fire this year. So that's one less house they had before. So how can we help them, build up that housing stock?
All right, Shelley and Chet, appreciate your presenting this one. That said, we'll go on to correspondence, communication, anything? Announcements?
Do adjourn.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to adjourn. All in favor?
Right.
Aye, we're adjourned at 10:40. Thank you, everybody, for showing up.